Anyway, I wanted to come, there was a question in the group. And so whenever I see questions, I love to answer them because it's thought provoking. Itika is good with that too. She always has really great thought provoking questions that she asks. So this question was, what's the absolute bravest thing you've ever done? What's the absolute bravest thing you've ever done? Now, it's weird that she asked this story. So when I saw it, it was still top of mind for me. But I just told this story to my longtime friend for the first time just a few days ago. Because I've held this in. I've told some people, but not many. But when I was 16, I was molested by a white man outside of Great Adventure in New Jersey. I had gone there with my brother and his friends, and we were separated at the concert when I fainted. It was actually a Bay City Roller concert. I love the Bay City Rollers. And I had went there and I thought, I got backstage because I fainted and I saw them and I kind of ran off to chase them. And I didn't get very far, but when I came back and was looking for my brother, I guess they thought I had been taken to the hospital, so they left me. We were separated, and I was, I don't know why they went to the hospital instead of just waiting at the gate for me to show up. I don't know. I just don't know why. There was no cell phones back then, and so I waited until it got dark, and then I realized that no one was coming to save me. I was barely 16. I was in tears, and there was more than 80 miles from my house. I was afraid. I've never been that afraid in my life, to be honest. It was cold and it was dark and I was lonely. I mean, luckily it was in the summer. I think it was August. It might have been August or September. I had no choice but to begin to walk home from Jackson, New Jersey. It was 80 miles from my home, which was in Haddon Township, New Jersey. And this was the most frightening night of my life. No doubt about it. There was no such things as cell phones back then. So I was completely and totally alone. There was no one that was coming to save me that I knew of. And I had nothing else to do but to just keep walking in the direction of my city. So a pickup truck came by with a white man who asked me if I needed a ride. He seemed friendly enough. And I wasn't really knowledgeable about getting into cars or hitchhiking or anything like that. So I got into the car. Big mistake. Immediately, he took me deep into the woods and molested me. I mean, he must have turned off the road immediately. Like, he picked me up, he went about 10 meters and turned down into the woods. Like, he had no intention of taking me anywhere at all. None. And I was so scared. I tried to keep a brave face because I had never been in this situation before. I had never been alone with a grown man ever. I mean, barely 16, scared and really not knowledgeable about anything at all. I hadn't even had a real official like make out boyfriend or anything at that time. I was completely innocent. But I was smart. I was wise. And I figured out how to save my life that night. He asked me to do some things and I did them. And I mean, when he did his business, I must have done good, because he actually drove me back to the main road and dropped me off. Now, before I go any further, I just want you guys to understand, it was pitch black with nothing but the lights of his truck. I saw like a little stream, or like a little lake or river, or something to the side. There was nothing but woods. I mean, it was the Jersey woods. I don't know if you know about how bad the pines are. So I thought I was going to die. Like, he could have killed me in there and no one would have ever found me. I don't think. I mean, maybe, but how long would it have taken? So I'm, even to this day, I can't believe I figured out how to save my life that night. I don't know if he took me back there just to have me do what he wanted me to do, or if he took me back there with the intent to kill me, but I was compliant. I did not fight. I did not struggle. I did not hesitate. I did let him know I never did it before, and he was like, that's okay. And he showed me what to do. I know this is an awful conversation, but I just put on a brave face as though I had hitchhiked many times before and that I knew the game. And I mean, I think I went into shock though, actually, especially after he dropped me off, because he just dropped me off basically back on the road where I was almost. Like I said, he went deep in the woods, but it was almost like he had done it before to someone. He did not hit me. He didn't hold any weapons against me. I think he might have showed me some, I don't know, I can't remember. There was some kind of threat. Now, I don't think there might have been a knife. I can't remember, but he didn't hit me. He didn't hit me. And that's all that. I was thinking, like, he is not trying to kill me. He just wants me to do this thing. So I really think that I got out of that without being beaten or hurt or seriously abused, because I was compliant. And I tried to make it more of a, like it was normal. I know that sounds horrible, but I didn't want it to seem like he would, like, if you fight, they get off on that, right? I was smart enough to know that. I was smart enough to know not to run, not to fight, not to argue, not to scratch, not to bite, not to fight, because they get off on the fight. And sure enough, once he did his business, he was satisfied enough to let me go. So once I was back on the main road, I like I said, I was in shock. I just start walking. I was walking for miles in the pitch black. It was pitch black for miles. Now, luckily, I had on this bright green shirt, and or I probably would have been killed on the road, because a couple of times someone would drive by and go, watch out, or something like that. Now, luckily, and to this day, I feel like I was blessed, because a real guardian angel came by and saw me. It was this little old black man, little chubby black man, who was out early in the morning delivering newspapers. He was going to delivering papers to the military base, because I wasn't far from the military base that's near Jackson. Anyone in New Jersey knows what I'm talking about. Can't remember, was it McGuire? No, what's the name of that military base? I'm trying to remember the name of it in Jersey. Anyway, he stopped his truck literally in the middle of the road and screamed, "What are you doing out here all by yourself? You're just a baby." And I was, I mean, I'm even to this day, I'm only 5'4". I must have been like 5'2", soaking wet. Like I was a baby. And um, he's like, get in the truck. I'll take you as far as the military base. So I got in his car and I cried. I boohooed. I told him what happened, and he felt sorry for me. So he drove me all the way to Browns Mills Road, up near that area. He got me about 40 miles from my home, which I'm grateful. I must have rode with that man for an hour. The fact that he took me that far, um, to this day, I'm I'm sure that's an angel. Okay, so he had gotten me to the 7-Eleven. He dropped me off there, and I had tried to get help. I stood around there for a little while, but it was like 4 in the morning, and there was nobody. So I began walking again. I don't know how many miles I walked. 10 miles, 15 miles. I just know it was pitch black. There was nothing for miles upon miles upon miles except for apple trees on either side. That's what I remember. There were like fruit trees on either side of me, and that was it. Nothing else, like nothing. Not a single house, a light, a person, nothing. I feel like I talked to God that night. Like, I don't know. I just feel like that was a moment between life and death, and it could have went either way several times that night. And there was absolutely nothing. I mean, it was pitch black. Every once in a while, a truck like a rig would whiz by me, and I was always grateful that they didn't hit me or they didn't swerve to the side. I mean, because I was walking in complete darkness. There was nothing. It was almost dawn, and I finally saw what looked like a town in front of me, but by this time I could barely walk. I could barely walk. My feet were blistered, my legs were cramped. I cried with every step I took. It was absolutely horrendously horrible. And I made it to the doorway of a church. There just happened to be this huge white church there. And I tried to get to the door. I couldn't even make it. I literally passed out on the steps of the church in exhaustion. Now, I don't know how long I laid there, but luckily across from the church, there was this gas station, and they had came in, I guess, it was 5:36 in the morning. And the attendant saw me passed out on the church steps, and they rushed over and they carried me over into the gas station, called the police. They gave me water. And I mean, once I was coherent, I told them my story. I told them my name. I gave them my grandma's name, her phone number, and because she was my guardian. And they called my grandma, and they arranged for her to send a taxi to get me home. And it cost my grandma, I guess, over $100 and some to get me home from there, because I was still like 30 miles or so from my house, or from my home. When I got home, I thought my family would be mad at me, but they were just grateful I was alive. They were. And they helped me to get up to my bed because I could barely walk. And I slept for 3 days. Now, the reason why my friend Dee remembered that, because it was legendary. I lost 15 pounds in a day. Like when I got back to school, that after that summer, everyone started noticing my weight loss, because I had always been this really chunky girl, and it had made a huge change in me, and it actually started me off on this crazy weight loss thing that I started on, and I ended up losing 80 pounds. But that night I lost 15 pounds, and it was the night that almost killed me, but I survived, because I'm a survivor. And I survived probably what some girls would have never survived. Being taken down in the pine barrens like that and sexually molested. And I got out of those woods alive. And to this day, I'm eternally grateful to Heavenly Father, to my guardian angels, to God for getting me out of those woods that night. That's the bravest thing I've ever done, was survive that attack. I survived it. I survived that walk home from Great Adventure, and I'm here now to tell the story. Anyway, I wanted to share this. Yeah, it's kind of emotional, but I can tell my story and not cry now. But it was pretty horrendous when it happened. Anyway, this has been Adrienne, and I just had this, I wanted to share this story. I don't want to die the story in me, because it happened and it's my life. And I survived it. And I feel that I'm brave and I'm smart and I'm wise and I made it. Much love to everybody.